Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday night chat. We have Rosie back. She took a month off. She's been out fooling around, boondocking, camping, and whatever else she's been doing, just having a good time. But we welcome her back and glad to have her back. And we have Daniel and Blue here, and I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to start with Blue. What's up, Blue?
Well, no matter what Rosie tells us, she wasn't out doing all that stuff. She was like the original nurse that got arrested for protecting a patient's rights, and they just released her on some bail. So,
oh, you're such a cop.
But thanks for the invite. Good to see Rosie again. Daniel, good to see you again. The calm to our storm, I guess we could say. And good to see the external chat. And again, it's filling up pretty damn quick. So ready to get this thing rolling.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't mute myself. Hope I didn't pop in there too bad. Daniel, would you like to do an intro, man?
Well, thank you, TR. It's Daniel Gett as my judge. And things are going pretty good. And yeah, Rosie, it's been a while since you've been on. I was wondering what happened. But thank you, everybody.
And then, look at the extra one went away. Rosie, go ahead and do an intro, and then you can, if you want, roll into whatever's on the top of your mind. Oh, you got a list. You ready? I hear you. Go ahead.
A lot has happened in a month, and hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be back. I just, after 2 years, I figured it was time that I took a little time off from the Tuesday chats, but I certainly did miss it. And I had a little bit of elective surgery too, the 28th of August. And you got great people on the chat, both on the panel and of course on your side chat is legendary. But if you knew how many people messaged me and wrote me and asked if I'm okay, when I'm coming back, hope your recovery goes well, enjoying your trips out in the van. You guys have been fantastic, and thank you very much for that. We went through that ridiculous 111, 100 plus days that we actually had to flee towns to a friend of mine. So I'm glad to be back, and things hopefully will normalize a bit soon here, but we got bigger fish to fry in obviously the Gulf, with which coming up with Hurricane Irma on top of Hurricane Harvey. And I think this is really, well, we'll get to that in a minute. I do have some things to talk about because in a month, a lot of things have happened both in the markets and in the political realm. And I have to talk about the tax reform thing first, because tax reform has been one of those two really big mainstays of what I guess you could say three: build the wall, get rid of the Affordable Care Act, legacy of Obama, and reduce the tax rate and bring that down. And so far we don't have much action on the wall, and we probably won't, given what's the events that are going on in the Gulf right now. But we didn't get the Affordable Care Act removed from, from being the law of the land. Unfortunately, we fell a couple votes short on that. But tax reform's the next thing that, this is really the thing that I think is going to make or break the president's current administration here. I know North Korea and all that stuff is going on, but I worry if nothing is really done on the tax front, it's going to be an additional burden that the investment markets are going to have to carry forward here, and I'm not sure they're equipped to handle that. We've built a lot of expectations since TR, the night of the election, when that market, took off, the stock market, we went up, 15% or something like that from election night. We built a lot of positive expectations and a lot of hope into that this big market move. And little by little, I don't know how you all feel, but I get the sense that maybe you know, it's being whittled away. Our expectations are starting to be reined in now, and I think disappointment is starting to come in. And I think the president's appreciating how much more difficult it is to govern, and how you really have to be able to be a consensus builder. And I don't think it's something that he's been able to do so far. So I'm keeping an eye on tax reform. You know, we talk about this hurricane. FEMA's asking for almost $8 billion for Hurricane Harvey. And now, of course, we have Irma barreling down. And, you know, it makes me question things like what's going to happen if this takes out a big swath of the popular beach areas in Florida and some of the homes, if God forbid it happens to hit there. Are we really going to be able to continue to rebuild these places that get periodically hit by tornadoes? And I think, TR, this is like up your alley when we talk about the privatization of profit and yet the socialization of loss. In other words, if we make a decision to buy a home, you know, a nice beachfront home or something like that, and it gets wiped out with the storm, of course, we often turn to the U.S. government to be the provider and insurer, rebuilder of last resort. But can we really afford that anymore? As taxpayers, we don't get the upside of appreciation for property, but yet when things hit the fan, beyond just the social needs of providing clean drinking water and food and some shelter in the interim, there's going to be that pressure to socialize any losses that come up. And I'm not sure we can afford that. It might be something we want to talk about tonight, that whole aspect of when stuff hits the fan, we all have to shoulder that. But when things go well, very few of us enjoy the fruits of that success. We got the debt ceiling coming up too. We have to negotiate that, and these continuing resolutions and the sideshow of that, it just adds to the current sort of climate of misery in our country. Having to negotiate $20 billion of debt. I mean, we all know on this panel where that's all going to end up. It's catastrophic in nature, which is why, have you noticed in the last month that gold is comfortably above 1,300? I think last I looked it was $1,340 an ounce. Last time I was on here it was $1,260, and silver was a hair over 17, and it's 18 now. These markets see something that they're not liking. Bitcoin saw something it didn't like too. And the People's Bank of China went in there and did its part to try to crush the Bitcoin. But what do gold and silver see out there that is putting such a bid under those markets right now? And we talked about oil before, and I was on 6 weeks ago. Somebody asked me where oil prices would be. I really thought they'd be lower than they are now. But then again, who could see our hurricane coming down the pike that would hit into Beaumont, Texas, and all the hard and big refining? But I see that as being sort of very short-lived unless we get a double whammy out there. So, and interest rates are dropping again. Last time I was here, they were like 2.6% on the 10-year. We're down to 2.07. I know this sounds really stupid to a lot of people, but 9 years into a recovery, our interest rate should be up around, on a 10-year, should be 3, 4, 5%, and we're dropping down again, and short-term rates are going up. Our 1-year loans to the government, our 1-year T-bills are at the highest rate in 9 years. So we're flattening this yield curve, or pushing the short-term maturities dangerously close to the long-term maturity. You can lend money to the United States government for 1 year for like 1.07%, but if you lend it for 10 years, you only get 2.07%. One additional percentage point for 9 additional years of risk. It's crazy. It's getting crazy out here. So these are the things that concern me. As a result, I really think that this market is really on borrowed time. The stock market here I think the best has been built into it, and I think it's going to continue to be challenged coming up. So that's about all I have on that. If anybody has any questions or anything.
Okay, well, questions, anybody?
Well, hey, Rosie. Hey, guys.
Hey.
I just it's interesting that you were talking about interest rates, because I, being a VA veteran, we're able to take advantage of the veterans benefits and the VA loans. And I've got my oldest brother called me up the other day, and he was like, "You need to get involved in this thing, man, and refinance your house." Now, for me, I've done the measurements. You know, this is how much it's going to cost me. This is how much I'm going to do. And right now, I'm in that area where I'm at if I refinance, it's not going to help me at all, because my wife and I, we're going to have our house paid off in about 8 years. But he's like, "No, you got to do this." And I'm just like, "No, I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that." And he is a refi individual. It's so funny because he refis his house all the damn time, but he doesn't pay any closing costs or anything. He jumps balances all the time with the lower interest rate. He plays the interest rates. So what is the advantage in balancing around? He doesn't pay any points, no closing costs. He plays the game. He plays the market pretty well. I mean, pretty damn well. But he does well by taking advantage of the low interest rates. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's smart. I mean, anytime you can, it's what I call ratcheting down, Coda. Anytime you always theoretically at any point in time can immediately, put together your closing costs should be known from refi, and they're not going to change that much refi to refi to refi. So you're going to do the calculation, and you're going to amortize those savings of what a potentially new interest rate is going to be, and you're not going to refi unless they really make sense. Do I think interest rates are going to be lower? Well, the market certainly is looking like it is. I mean, if we really seriously roll over, and today, the month of August was challenging. We hit a high at, I think, 22,000, something like that. We're at 21.6 or something around there right now. It's, if we roll down in a major way, I could easily see interest rates dropping down to 1.7, 1.8% on the 10-year. And if it gets and that could happen really fast, because interest rates have been moving down very rapidly. I mean, a month ago they were 2.5% on the 10. They're 2.07 now. That's a fast move in 38 days here. So I'm thinking, yeah, if you're probably going to have a chance to refi again. What I'm afraid is that some of the capital values of real estate might take a bit of a hit coming up.
Yeah, just let all the VA, all the veterans out there know that if you can come, and this is actually the part of, if you have a disability, you have zero closing costs or points or on your VA benefits. So where you would normally be paying like my brother's case, $24,000 closing cost, it's zero. If you come up, he's a pilot, flew C-130s for 20 years. He has tinnitus. So he's able to come up with the disability, and it gets zero closing costs. So just to let all the veterans out there know, that's one of the things that's available to you. Now, I don't have viewership of the chat out there because I'm just doing it on my phone. But just let everybody know that's a cool deal that's available to all our veterans. And it doesn't matter if you served 20, 30 years ago. If you go to VA, you fill out the benefits form. If you can prove you have tinnitus or anything else, you're able to take advantage of those deals through the VA.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because it depends. I don't know if they put a limit, like you can only do it once a year or something, because it's, there's cost to them of rolling that. I'm not sure what it is, but Sure, it makes sense because if you can roll everything into a 15-year and you're getting basically 2%, it's almost theoretically like free money.
It's almost free money.
It's almost.
And that's one of the things. Let's take it down a notch and talk about cars. Say, for instance, Rosie, you're obviously someone who is knows about finances. So, say, for instance, somebody has the availability to do, a 0.09% financing. And they go into a situation where they have the ability to do that over a 7-year period or a 3-year period. What would you suggest? Because
I would take the longest term possible because I think you'll continue to, you may have an ability again to ratchet down. And you and I both know, Coda, in 10 years is a lifetime when it comes to interest rates and things. I mean, a year from now, we could be in a flip-flop picture where nobody wants to buy treasuries, U.S. government treasuries and stuff. The gold and silver markets are just sending a real warning bell right now that something's not, the patient has a fever right now and there's something going on. So for me, if I was going to refi, I would take out the term again because I think it's only going to be better in the, you may have another crack or two to be able to do that, and you're going to probably get the best kind of rate. And there's not really an appreciable difference between like a 3-year or a 10-year right now. So I'll take the longer money because at any time I can pay it off if I want or keep it if I want, and
I always get in arguments with my wife, and she's like, "Well, we have the advantage of taking." Or they had the ability to take advantage of a 0.09% interest rate on a car loan. She's like, well, if I can't pay it off in 4 years, I'm not doing it. I'm like, it's free money.
It is free money.
You're going to be paying like $700 over the term of the interest of the loan. And, you can take advantage of certain things. I mean, it's incredible. But
they're basically carrying you for no cost and just letting you roll that for years into the future, and it's like a no-lose proposition for you, because let's say rates even ratchet. I don't know if they can write a mortgage. I don't even know if the VA can write a mortgage less than 0.9% or something crazy low. But just theoretically, they just say that they came out and just said we're just refining for the term of 0% to get everybody a little bit liquid. I mean, that's like another no-lose situation for everybody. If you're already paid off, well, you're not really totally taking advantage of that. Sure, you have all of your equity, but for me, if everybody gives me, if I can be carried for free on something that could potentially appreciate in price, that's like the best of all worlds.
And I want to follow that up with, like, say, for instance, our initial loan on our home was like 4.6%. Even though there's lower percentage rates available, does it behoove us to try to refi at a lower percentage rate? When I look at the years paid off, I'll have the house paid off in a certain amount of time that will exceed that if I were to refi.
Yeah, because then it becomes a hassle factor and it's not really worth it. And, for a lot of people, if you're that close to a payoff point, you just take it through. Still a very good rate. I mean, I came from an era of 16% mortgage rates in the early 1980s and stuff. It was insane. We would laugh if somebody back then said you can get a 4%.
You can't be more than 36 years old, so don't start that.
Well, if you're like me, Coda, I'm on the back end of my mortgage, and almost, not 100%, but almost, I don't even know what it is, but almost all the money is going toward principal now.
At that point, you're golden.
Yeah, I'm not even hardly paying interest, anymore. I'm just paying I see every month. For years it was like it never changed. I still owed this amount. Now I'm seeing it actually ratchet down. to refinance at this point, even at a lower rate, well, I just start all over again and start paying interest.
It's awful. And I guess that's where I'm going with, is that I've got a brother who's like, you got to refi. I'm like, why? Why do I need to refi? Because of a lower interest rate. Well, that's fine, but because of that, the end result, and that's what I'm trying to convey to the viewers of this chat, the end result is the same. You can get a lower interest rate, however, with what you have now could end at the same point. So, Rosie, you're the financial wizard and the stereo person I can see behind you. Jesus Christ. What the hell, man? Were you like
yeah, I want to ask because Daniel asked too, what is the rate that you can refi on and you have to be below 36 years of age to refi a VA loan, and what is the rate that you quoted on that for a refi?
Who, me, Rosie?
Coda.
Oh, like 4.35 or 5.6 or something like that.
For a VA?
Not on a VA, but just a traditional loan.
No, I'm wondering for a VA, did you say like 0.9?
No, he's getting like a 2.9 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, because Daniel asked at a 3.7515, does it make sense to take advantage of that? Yeah, because it's almost a point of principal difference, and if you take that point of principal over 15 years, that's probably half a car, or something like that. So
just let Daniel know that's for naval officers.
Okay. Well, that's what he said with that. So I just think it makes sense if we're going to. I'm more concerned about so many calls on the Treasury right now. This stuff just becomes obviously ridiculous.
And that's a concern I have, is because, if you want to jump into a market, if you want to make a change, it evidently has to be consistent and has to be across the board and stable. So it's an interesting thing. So
yeah.
Well, in my little small redneck mind, maybe I don't grasp it all, but from what I get, what I gather, what I've experienced, it depends on how long you have to pay it off, because you pay all the interest up front. And like I said, I only have less than 10 years on my loan left, and I'm hardly paying any interest now. It's almost all principal. So if I refinanced, it would actually cost me more money even though it's a lower interest rate, it would still cost me more money, even if I did a 10-year loan.
And that's where we're coming at, like, where you have to come up with a break even on your,
you got to calculate
this much.
You got to calculate the interest rate savings versus the cost of you, and at what point does it might make sense? You might, might pay for itself. If I'm not talking about a VA, but a conventional refi, if it's not gonna make a real big marginal difference over long term, then you don't do it. But you really have to. They have a lot of free calculators on their mortgage.com and some other places that you can plug and play with current rates, assuming you have good credit refi. You can plug in various things, see what your reduced payments would be, and then see how much you're going to save over the life. Say, if you refi on the 10-year or 15-year or something like that. So Chris says, what do I do if I have a lot of equity and I have what do I do with the equity? He said he's close to, I think, paying that off. Well, I just say congratulations to you, and just see it out. I'm not sure if it's worth refining if you have a tremendous amount of equity in there, because you're mainly just paying back principal and everything on your loan at this point. So
it's a fine line, but you know what? It's a fine line that's you're able to define it, and that's one of the things with my family is I've been able to go, okay, this is what we have, this is where we could be, where do we want to be? And I've decided to make no changes. So
yeah, I think Linda Francine should weigh in because she probably has a good handle on some of the sites that have calculators that you could do a theoretical plug-in and see what set your term of 10 years or whatever, and your refi rate, and see how much you're going to pay over compared to what you're going to pay. If you still have that same term left on existing loan now. So I don't know what's going to happen if we hit the coast with this Irma. We might hit 2 coasts. I'm not sure. So might hit 3. It might be a triple play: the Atlantic, the Gulf, and then up to the Alabama, Mississippi, in that area. Who knows?
Well, I tell you what's interesting is TRprepper's effect on the Antifa group people with the latest video you put out. Obviously, you challenged some individuals. So go ahead, TR.
So I did another one and put it out. It hadn't took off. I don't know why in the world, how YouTube algorithms, how that works, but I did a video. It hadn't even been out a week, and it's over 12 or 13,000 right now. I'm like, I'm
That's
texting
awesome.
my buddies like, oh, hit 11,000, oh, hit 12,000. I'm just like, I don't know what the hell I done, but I wish I could reproduce it. But I guess I pissed a bunch of people off, or I actually, hit a chord with red-blooded Americans, or both. I don't know.
I vote for that. So.
I don't know what happened. And there was a bunch of trollers that jumped on there or whatever, but whatever. I hadn't even been able to respond to all the comments yet. I'm slowly trying to make a notch in it, But they hadn't attacked any of my other videos, so I don't know. Whatever.
And that was the one where you started off just shooting the scorpion, and then you ended it with like a 30-second phrase that.
Yep, that's it. It was like, eventually we'll come after you. And evidently that just fucking riled their feathers. But they're the ones that called for a flat-out revolution. November 4th, the Antifa has flat out said they want an armed conflict, a revolution with America.
Well, does that mean we can start shooting
that? They did that.
Can we shoot people with Antifa like clothing on?
Well, I think we should let the police take care of it, and maybe the National Guard. But if it starts spilling over out of the streets into yards, it's on. I'm not going looking for a fight. I think some people misunderstood that video, thinking that
it's interesting that they picked November. I mean, I always get these flashbacks to Occupy. Remember that bullshit? Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Washington, Occupy Seattle. I get those same kind of flashbacks on there. But I'm just saying, I just caution people that this is, when things go bad in the investment world, this is typically the time that this is like the hot spot, seasonality.
What they're doing is they're going by the V for Vendetta movie. November 4th was the day he attacked Parliament. It's also our day of inauguration, not that there's going to be one.
It's a confluence of a lot of stuff. Plus, you have a weak cycle anyway on investment, at least for equity markets, are typically at their weakest in September, and a little, usually the bottoms are put in October from some of the bad things, but you just have to be super cautious.
Well, like I said, I mean, some
profits in the market, I'd be taking them. I'd be, you're priced for perfection with equities and things right now. There's really not, I just think that it's going to be very trying.
I'm thinking if they keep it up, because they've gotten so bad that even the left-wing media, your MSNBC, CNN, even their election. Sorry, AZ. Yeah, I got my facts messed up. Yeah, you're right. It was election, not inauguration. So much stuff going through my mind. I can't think straight.
Why don't you back up for people that don't know and just explain this Antifa? There's some people in the side chat that aren't really up to speed on that.
Well, if you don't know, Antifa has flat out through their own admission, they're calling for a revolution on November 4th. They're flat out calling for an armed revolution against the American public. Most of them are anarchists. The other half think that they are anti-fascist when they're actually fascist. I mean, they're a confused group. They're a very
Listen, real quickly. You gotta pronounce it right. The fash. Because it's cool. It sounds cool.
The fascist. Fascist. They think we're fascist. And what's really sad is the anarchists are on their side, and we're closer to anarchy than a fascist. And you're anti-fascist when actually conservatives are closer to anarchy than we're 180 degrees away from fascism. Fascism is socialism. We believe in less government, little government, more personal freedom, which is closer to anarchy than socialism. So these little idiots are running around claiming we're fascist when we're actually closer to anarchist. So you are so fucking ignorant of what you're fucking fighting for. You don't even know what you're fighting for. But in the end, they are calling these people that, like you've seen at Berkeley and some other events, that went rogue and, you know, destroying property, beating the shit out of people. They're calling for a flat out revolt, a revolution on November 4th. And I want to go ahead and tell you.
Do you worry, TR, that, you know, if things do come down in the next quarter or so, it seems a very fertile recruiting ground for, let's say, the DREAM Act people that now feel like, oh shit, now our DREAM Act, you know, what is it, 1 million anchor babies or whatever are going to be disenfranchised. You can see how that could sort of gather some. A coup group like that could suddenly start gathering a lot of organizations to within its and just put it under one umbrella. That's what I worry about. And you know, if we go through another 2008 where stuff gets ugly again, I don't know who has the ability to pull that out now. And that's when I worry about that chaos of anarchy and I'm not going to go there yet, but I can see fertile recruiting ground for lots of disaffected people in here that are pretty pissed off.
Me personally, I'm not going to engage these people. I'm going to kick back. I'm going to wait and see what happens. What I think is, because we still got a long time between now and November. And first of all, if you're going to have a revolt and a revolution, you don't publicize it. So there, first of all, you fucked up right there. You flat out, you know, said you're going to do this. So the government can, I mean, local, city, state, federal, they can prepare for it. So they'd already fucked up right there. And I'm going to sit back and wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, since they've already, if anybody doesn't know, the Department of Homeland Security has already deemed that Antifa's activities are domestic terrorism. These people are already listed as domestic terrorists. They did that in 2016. So these are domestic terrorists already. And I'm going to let them, I'm going to give them just enough rope to hang themselves, because that's what they're doing.
Odin, the German Czech revolt quotes from Antifa. All those losers could do is destroy. But if you've seen it before, if we have a wind shift here and something, a lot of people get taken out by a bad event or recollapse again because the 2000, this contrived recovery starts to fall apart. You can see how easy. You can see what a fertile recruiting ground. I mean, they might look ineffectual and kind of stupid now, but people only need one little magnet out there to attract a ton of, when the time is right. So I just think these kind of groups bear keeping an eye on because their timing may be perfect for mayhem and stuff, and that's what I worry about.
Well, I kind of mentioned this on the Sunday chat, but here in 13 days, I'm actually planning on going to a quote unquote march in my local area that I don't want to call them Antifa, but if you do the research on the group that's doing it, which is a spinoff group of Indivisible We Rise, it's pretty much the same damn thing. And I'm going down just to see what it is. And I know on at least the Sunday chat, there were some mixed reviews on whether I should even show up or not. But, they're there to protest absolutely everything. I mean, it's in their, oh, hell, if I could look it up real quick. They call themselves a grassroots organization, but this has already started years ago. Years ago, you were no longer grassroots. You're just following the bandwagon. But it's dedicated to watching for and resisting any and all efforts by the Trump administration to undermine our democracy with racist, authoritarian, unconstitutional, or corrupt executive and legislative actions. So basically, if Trump looks at the solar eclipse without his sunglasses on, they're protesting it. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to wear my little Trump hat.
Blue, you can see the fuel added today with the DREAM Act now being off the table and things like that. You can see here's another whole sector of people that really shouldn't have any rights because they're not here legally per se, but have been sort of grandfathered in by the goodness of the Obama administration. Now they're out in the cold. You can see how these anti-Antifa groups can pick up members here real quick. I went through this.
They're definitely going to pick up
the same damn thing 9 years ago, and I'm telling you, it can develop awful quickly.
And TR put something on his Facebook feed not too long ago. It was like within the last couple hours. And it's how quickly the American public forgets that whenever Obama was a senator, what was that, TR, 04? Where he was calling for stricter.
Yeah, Robert. He didn't even finish his senator's term. He was a first-term senator when he got elected president. He only served a few years as a senator. So yeah,
but that was his plan, was tougher immigration, tougher restrictions, tougher this, tougher that, and then he gets into office, and there's always everybody else pulling the goddamn coat strings of everybody, and then we come up with the what is it, the Dharma, Dreama, whatever the hell.
Well, I call it the DREAM Act, the anchor babies.
Well, my question is all these, because most of these people are in their 30s or whatever now. Well, I won't say most of them, but a lot of them. I mean, this act has been in place for a long time. It's just expiring, and Trump's not renewing it. All he's doing is, okay, it expired. We're going to let it expire. Okay, you were in this country for 2 decades. Why didn't you apply for citizenship? Mm-hmm. That's my question. You were here legally, technically, maybe not technically, but you were here, allowed to be here. Why didn't you go through the steps and become a citizen? That's my question. You're 30 years old. You came in under the DREAM Act. Why didn't you apply for citizenship? Oh, you did. You don't want to be a citizen of the United States? Okay, well, fuck it. Go back. Bye. Mm-hmm. See ya.
Steve's got the name. It is called delayed action. It's not called final action for children. So, let's give Trump credit for head-oning the problem, passing the football to Sessions, the Attorney General, and then throwing it to Congress. Let them determine it. But you got to draw the line somewhere between the federal versus state marijuana laws. You have a lot of people growing up now thinking they can obey whatever law they want and ignore whatever law they don't want, and we're starting to lose this. What I perceive we're losing this law abidingness as a nation, and now it's kind of pick and choose things that we want to, laws we want to follow and laws that we don't want to follow.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I forget her name. She said, hey, if Congress wants to change the law, they can change the law. The president cannot make law. And he can't. The president cannot make law. No matter how bad you snowflakes out there think, the president has this ultimate authority. All he can do is approve or disapprove laws that Congress presents him. Now, there are some things he can do, but as far as law, he can't stop a law. And as far as the DREAM Act, he can just say, well, no, we're not renewing that. But it expired.
I can bring blue into it. I can talk about the sanctuary cities and whether police and sheriffs and choose to enforce and cooperate with ICE. I mean, it's just like, why should this even be? Why should that? I don't mean to question the authority, but if which trumps which, federal law or the state law supersede? Well, you set kind of a bad tone when you decide you pick and choose which things you want to enforce and which you don't. And I use the federal marijuana laws as a case in point. I mean, we got states with recreational marijuana passed now, and it's everything is in direct violation to federal statutes. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we've got a lot of lawbreakers out there on a federal level. It just concerns me. I've just seen over the last 15 years this sort of encroachment on sensible obeyance of law, and it's starting to break down here, and it's a worry.
Now this is my go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I was going, these dreamers, I don't know. Maybe someone in the panel can tell me. As long as they stay dreamers, are they receiving government benefits? Going to college for free, getting Social Security. When veterans out here, when they get, I'm going to use myself as an example here. I got a VA doctor says, you're never going to work again. I got a surgeon that says, you're never going to work again. And the physical therapist from the VA says, you're never going to go to work again. It goes to the federal level, denied. I mean, they're denying the VA doctors and the top surgeon this side of the Mississippi. So these dreamers, I don't know, are they getting Social Security? Are they getting college benefits?
Well, I know in California they're getting, if you just land on the shores here, you're going to get educated, you're going to get vaccinated, you're going to get your health care taken care of, your babies are going to be born, and there's a good chance, your higher education may be financed at the University of California and other places. I can't speak for other states, but yeah, it makes me sick about, I've been on the VA kick for 2 years here, Daniel, and the way that our vets, everything possible should be done to them, and then everybody else is taken care of, But unfortunately, we seem to be the reverse here, that they become the ultimate invisible citizens. Once they've done their duty, then they just disappear into the woodwork and F them. And it really bothers me.
See, one thing is, like, I'm not saying this for anyone to feel sorry for me. I knew this day was coming for years, for a couple decades. So I got prepared for it. I got my private insurance. I took decisions to control my own life. Now, you've got these people that aren't citizens. They get benefits, and our federal government denies our citizens and our veterans these benefits. I mean, that's just plain wrong.
Yeah.
Now,
you're agreeing with me.
about Have you guys ever heard of BAM, by any means necessary?
Is that the George Michael band from back in the day?
Negative. It
Oh,
was
you
was
said
before
band,
Antifa.
not Wham. Okay.
No, yeah, it was before Antifa came out. The first time I seen him was in California, and they went and attacked some people that had a protest, and they shut them down. It was by any means necessary. Now, I haven't heard anything from them since Antifa started up, and they all dressed the same. They wore the face mask, the black, brought clubs, and so I'm just thinking they just changed their name. But when it's all back to that original group, by any means necessary.
They really care. I mean, they'll fly under whatever flag is there, Daniel. They don't give a shit. I mean,
yeah, I do think it's a progression of that. I have heard of that, Daniel. I know what you're talking about.
They don't care which group it's going to be under. They'll just mold themselves to whatever it is and gradually change it to what they want if the numbers are big enough. I just think there could be a lot of people disaffected coming up in a major way that whether it's people feel like they've been shabbily treated by hurricane relief, people that their dream act is going bye-bye, that Trump cracking down on immigration, it's all in the stew.
This is just my personal belief, and y'all give me your opinion on it. If you're an immigrant, I don't think you should get any government help. If you want to come here and you want to be a part of our society and you have a skill or are able to work, I don't care if it's picking beans or you're a great maintenance man. You know, you worked on machinery in whatever country and you can work on machinery here. You want to come to this country and make something yourself, fine. Come over here and get you a job or start your own business. I don't care what it is, whatever you do. But I don't think you should be able to get right off the bat a handout just for coming to this country. I don't get a handout.
It's all part of that new world order thinking that supersedes national borders and says, well, we have a right to better jobs, and if they happen to be north of the border, that's a human right to get that. Well, you have a lot. It's sensible what you say, because you tell somebody when they're coming in for the immigration interview, why do you want to come to America? Because it's the land of opportunity. Well, that's a beautiful thing. So what you're telling me is you're ready to make it on your own, because that's what America's all about. People pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps. So yeah, you better come in with a good support system. I mean, years ago, and I worked with people leaving Asia, going to Canada and other places, you had to have a certain level of assets, or you had to have, signed affidavits of family support. But the illegal thing now, they don't have that. There is none of that stuff, because you came in illegally. So you feel like you're above those kind of laws that other people had to go through. Now in California, we give you a driver's license now, because the theory is, well, we want you to know the laws and obey the, maybe not flee when you have an accident or something like that, because you're uninsured. But it's all, people see these things every day, and they see rights bestowed on people that aren't legally deserving of them. And they start to question the whole screwed up system. It's another reason why I think we prep, because it can't keep going down this road.
Well, that's why the refugees are flooding into Europe now, because they go there. And I hadn't checked recently, the last stat that I seen, 3% of the refugees have a job. The rest of them are living off the government. Their housing, their money for food, their money to live, everything is provided by the government. And in America, we're doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. You apply for welfare, food stamps, this and that, Section 8 housing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, come on into our country and you can just live here and we'll pay you to live here. No, fuck that.
And then you have other people who wait 8 to 10 years to legally immigrate and sitting in shitholes waiting to legally come in. They probably have the means to support themselves, a normalized way of immigrating, and they're just screwed waiting in line.
You know, and here's the thing. Our government for decades, I'm not talking about Obama, I'm not talking about, you know, Bush, Trump, anything like that. We have been setting ourselves up for what we're about to get for decades. Decades. You know, let's give free housing. And I don't care if it's to an American citizen or to an illegal immigrant. We're going to give you this for free. You pop out more kids, we're going to give you more. It's been generation upon generation upon generation that has become the leeches of this society that has, we get it for free, we get it for free, we get it for free. It's not, it was never meant to be a handout. It was never meant to be a goddamn career. But whenever you have, and I don't even want to know the numbers of the big cities, but like TR said, you know, you have the Section 6, Section 8, whatever it's called, the housing, it's free. We're going to pay for your food. We're going to pay for this. And if you want extra money, pop out another fucking 6 kids and we're going to pay you more money.
Well, remember, we traced that back to 1933, and the New Deal was where the whole balancing point, if you want to see in history when all that changed, it was the election of FDR and, of course, the Great Depression, that the problem was perceived to be so bad that only government intervention and a change of make work and feed people came in. And a lot of people never abandoned that system, even when things picked up in the late 1930s and 40s. And then we prospered so much after World War II that the feeling during the Johnson administration was the great society. We can pull everybody out. All we have to do is give handouts, and we give away at. Well, we were economically arguably stronger then, with lower debt, and our best years were ahead of us. We're not like that today, and yet the demands are highest now, and our ability to support that is probably declining rapidly going into the future. Now, that's the real tragedy of this. When the expectations are highest, the reality of being able to fulfill that is fading quickly. Now, that's why I say people are going to have a severe comeuppance, that they're going to find out government can't do everything and won't be able to do everything for them. And I rue the day when that happens, because then you're going to really see this stuff hit the fan. And
and if you
that's why I say prosperity is a curse in a lot of ways, because the expectations are that prosperity will go forever. People think in a straight line. They never think in a curvilinear fashion. They always assume what is what will always be, and they build on that, and then they screw themselves in the long run. And we all know that cycles change, nations fall, nations rise, and you know, we can't afford it. It's just unaffordable.
One
little point I want to make, Blue, and then I'm going to let you talk. I know I keep interrupting you.
No, that's all right. No, I would, you finish, you know.
If you go back in history and look back in the early 1900s, there was a big push for communism in America. And these socialist programs were sold as a good thing for America. And in the background, there was a big push for communism. And that's how all that started. It was a communist movement. I don't want to sound like, okay, let me put my tinfoil hat on. I don't want to sound like a tinfoil hat crazy guy, but if you actually go back and study history, this is why we cannot forget history. We need to go look back at our history. And when these big changes happened, you need to remember what was going on at the time. And there was a big communist movement at the time that led to these socialist programs. Anyway, I just want to say that. Go ahead, Luke.
I'll finish up my point originally was, you know, we've been doing this for decades and decades. So why are we so surprised that this Antifa movement is out there, that they're expecting everything for free? They want this, they want free college, they want, you know, $15 goddamn to flip a goddamn burger. They want, you know, all that other shit out there. You know, I remember times whenever my parents, like my mom had a good job and my dad had a good job, but my mom ended up it was called a glass plant is where she worked, and they ended up closing their doors and we had to go on government assistance. And I remember her having to go to, I don't remember what it was called at the time, but I remember the parents going to get blocks of cheese or loaves of, something like that. But we weren't on it for years on end. My parents had more, well, and EMT Rail fan, he's out there now, which is my brother. Our parents had, a greater respect, a greater, I don't know what you want to call it. My mom, after she lost her great job at the time, she went out to frickin', do babysitting, to whatever she could do for, $2 an hour to get off of the government assistance, because it was, in our family, it was needed, but it was also,
all this has happened in less than 100. This has all happened in 80 years or so. Back in 1932, the last place people turned, the last thought of people was government. We'd been through depressions, the collapse of '07, the depression of 21 after World War I, when the troops came home. The last place people turned was government, but the calamity was so big. It was that tipping point in the Great Depression after 3 years of people perceiving that Hoover really didn't do anything and resisted, because he was kind of smart enough to know once you go down this road, there's no turning back. Then it'll be like a vortex. It'll be like a twister that sucks in more and more over time, and people will get used to seeing government supply. They'll demand more government supply. The next problem comes along, the government steps in. After a while, it becomes a natural thought. Now, my point is, this is going to be broken in half when the next really major thing has, because quite simply, the finances won't be there. They won't be there. We'll have reached the natural end of the ability to pull people along as dead weight. Will be over at that point.
Now, as TR was talking about how in the 1930s and the communist, with the social program started, Section 2 of the Communist Manifesto says the fastest block to build in your organization is the poor. And I mean, once you got, and we are at the saturation point now, where they have passed the 50% mark in the United States. So all your major cities have swayed over the rest of the country. You take a look at the last election, the popular vote, well, Trump lost, but he got it by the way our government runs and our Constitution is, by the electoral. But now in the second way, in the next biggest block that takes more time, is to take over the educational systems and the training of the youth. I mean, we're there. We are at that point. And these Antifa people and the money backing them, they know this. So I just think about that a little bit when they're talking about November 4th, which is, to put it out there publicly, is totally foolish. But I don't know, is it foolish when you can just get all these people to start doing stuff on one day?
No, you see what happened in Berkeley on just small, relatively small sized community, because a huge magnet for people from all over the country show up. So it's very easy. We've seen, like I said, I don't know if you remember Occupy Wall Street back in the 2009, 2010, 2000, Occupy Seattle. It's very easy to suddenly pull huge groups together, and then you got a 24-carat mess on your hands. You can't just go in with clubs and just start dispersing people. I mean, you have a really sticky situation. So they better treat it with some attention. That's all I can say.
All right, let me ask you guys this, and I know I get on this goddamn bandwagon. It's been about a month. Rosie, you must bring this out in me. I'm not sure why, but the bandwagon of fucking, we are going to save every person that is addicted to opioids. However, we're going to let the person that gets cancer die or get very sick because they can't afford a goddamn medication. look at the deficit that this is causing. I mean, state by state by state by state. You know, you want to call this opioid thing a crisis and this and that. It's a crisis because most people made a choice. They made a choice. They knew the side effects. They knew that they could become addicted. They knew this, they knew that. But now across the whole freaking United States of America, it's almost becoming a mandate that every law enforcement officer, which on, you know, on ambulances, they carry Narcan, that type of stuff. That's pretty much typical. But now you're mandating all of this Narcan to be issued to police departments to go out and save these people that most of the time, I don't want to say they don't want to be saved or they don't deserve to live, but it's not our responsibility as a nation to carry this quote unquote epidemic. You know, well, I would rather my tax dollars.
We're not allowed to blame the individual anymore.
But I would rather my tax dollars go to fund somebody who gets cancer, who gets diabetes, who gets this, who gets that. I would rather my tax dollars go to help support somebody that can't make their medical bills over somebody who injects the shit in their arm or snorts it or however. I mean, that pisses me off so bad that, you know, in Pennsylvania, we have I forget what the deficit, it was like 2.6, I want to say $1 billion or something, that Governor Wolf says, oh, well, you know, we're going to tax electricity. We're going to tax cable. We're going to tax gas, natural gas for your house. We're going to tax all this shit to help the deficit, because him as governor and all of our fucking people who make the laws say, oh, well, you know what? We have this a bigger deficit now because we're going to pay for all this goddamn Narcan through state funds instead of, God, I'm sorry, that sits wrong with me. And
well, remember, it's addictive, and it just gets worse over time. That's the problem to grow if it's not one thing, and I'm not so sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. Anybody that's on medicinal marijuana, God love you for a legitimate need if it helps your quality of life. But when you start rolling over to recreational marijuana and things like that, I mean, it's just a certain percentage of those people are going to roll on to other drugs and things that they might not have ever rolled onto in an illegal type of situation before. So we're probably going to have a much worse problem come up. And you wonder why societies like China in the 1890s, 1900s just had death penalty to deal with drug addiction. It was the only way to stop it. And Lucky says it's the pharmaceutical companies, not the pharmaceutical companies. It's the individual person sitting there with the contrived need for that. I see it day in and day out. It's the doctor's faults and it's the patient's fault. And I work in a clinic where we just say no, and that's it.
And that's what it needs to get back to. It needs to get to, yeah. And I'm not afflicted with this. I know many people that have been afflicted, and I use that loosely, with chronic back pain, something that you can't prove, something that you can't disprove. Some people, I mean, if you're in a goddamn motor vehicle accident, and I don't mean somebody bumped you in the goddamn rear bumper at 5 miles an hour and now you're on disability for the rest of your life. If you fall off a roof, if you know, something like that, I understand that. I understand how that problem can happen. It's just, at some point, I hope somebody stands up and says enough is enough. I was pissed. The only reason I'm not pissed that our police department carries Narcan is if by chance I don't see it, I don't recognize it, or some asshole actually throws a bag of fucking fentanyl in my face. You know, it can be reversed for me. It wasn't my choice for that asshole to do that to me. It's the person that, I hope you know what I'm saying. I don't want to go too far with it, but.
Well, Mike DeLuca, I disagree with you. The doctor starts out with the best intention not to think about addicting to somebody to opioid. There's no benefit to the doctor for that, but the doctor is instructed and educated on what's the best painkillers and things like that. So, of course, the doctor is going to use that as a first line of defense. But anybody that says big pharma, painkillers are such a tiny, tiny part of big pharma's whole whole offerings, their whole catalogs. It's unbelievably tiny. Yeah, you have the company that did oxycodone and those kind of things. Yeah, that company was kind of called onto the carpet, and now it's being addressed. But I'm saying it also has to do with the person that does not, it used to be Tylenol was the drug of choice, and of course there is a marketing on the part of companies, and that has lessened to a great degree now because of laws passed in I think it was 2005, 2008. But the cases of opiates for stitches and something like that, that's extremely rare for that.
Well, I think when and I'm one to bitch about big pharma myself, but it's not painkillers. That's a whole different thing. I mean, that has a purpose. That's doing something. If you ever hear me or see me on Facebook bitching about big pharma, it's about some kind of vaccination, some kind, Gardasil, infecting young women with these fucking vaccines and shit like that. That's what I'm bitching about. If you're giving morphine to a cancer patient to ease their pain, no, I'm not bitching about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all this other stuff.
I agree. If you're on pain pills for legitimate need, as some people in the side chat are saying, God love you. I mean, that's the real deal on there. But I'm saying I've had 3 surgeries and all I've ever had is Tylenol. I've had wide awake locals and then went home. I mean, it's a choice I make. Some people have lower thresholds of pain and stuff, so I get it.
I had a bullet dug out of me.
I saw.
And they didn't even give me a fucking Tylenol. They gave me a prescription for a fucking antibiotic and sent my ass home. But if somebody's in pain and you need a painkiller or a Lortab or whatever it is, I don't care, whatever, that's fine. I'm not mad at Big Pharma for that. When I'm mad at Big Pharma, it's all the vaccines. That's what I'm mad at them for. So
we'll agree to disagree on that, because I see them as one of the things that have saved, countless lives. And
it depends on which one it is.
I see the upside of it. God forbid the first case of polio erupts in somebody.
Well, I mean, if you really look into it, you can almost link vaccines to autism. Period.
Rosie, I've been at summer camps with autistic kids, and a common factor is they got it right after a vaccine.
I disagree, Daniel. That was in Science magazine. It was totally refuted, and the person was fired and lost their credentialing. It was.
There's been many studies.
There's no proven link between autism.
Yes, Rosie.
Rosie. The only proof I need came out of the parent's mouth.
Well, you're in a very small sect. I'm talking about millions of people nationwide that don't get autism and yet are still protected against childhood diseases.
One in 80, what is it? 1 in 50 something kids now have autism? 1 in 50. Come on, Rosie.
I happen to think it's behavioral issues more than autism.
Okay, but they're calling it autism. 1 in 50, 1 in 60, or whatever it is. It's below 100.
I think it's being overdiagnosed myself. I'm not the on it, but
it is being overdiagnosed, because I got a sister-in-law that's doing it. And that kid is normal. He's just spoiled. But I want to tell you, when you go to those camps and you see the truly autistic, and you talk to the parents and stuff like that, and when it happened, the kid was like normal until they had a vaccine. Now, in all drugs, there's side effects.
Well, I'm saying we've been vaccinating since the 1940s.
Yes, but how much has those vaccinations increased in the last 10 years?
Well, I'm just talking about the basic repertoire of vaccinations, and it was unheard of, autism.
Let me give you an example, Rosie. Desert Storm Syndrome. Do you know what Desert Storm Syndrome ended up being from vaccinations. I was part of it. I was in a fucking study. The vaccinations individual were proven to be safe, but they gave us so many vaccinations, it actually caused Desert Storm syndrome. And it's the same thing we're doing with our kids. I know. Well, I'm not going to say your age or anything like that, but like my age, I'm 49. We had 7 or 8 vaccinations by the time we graduated high school. They're up to almost 50 now by the time a kid goes to school till they graduate. And when I was in Desert Storm, what caused Desert Storm syndrome? They came up with a solution was, I mean, not a solution, but the cause of it was they injected us with so many vaccinations in such a short period of time, it caused health problems. And now we went from the 70s and 80s of giving, 6, 7, 8 vaccinations to about 50 or 60. And now we have autism, ADD, all this stuff.
I can tell you, I've worked in vaccinations for 10 years. It's not even, it's 25 at the most.
No, it's not.
I work in it every day. Polio, MMR, IPV, HPV.
Well, many of them is the same vaccination, but it's in different.
Yeah, like hepatitis A, you need 2 spaced 6 months apart. Hep B, you need a series of 3.
Exactly.
Yeah,
each one of them is
probably a 25, not 50.
Each one of them, if you count each one of them, you're still okay. 25. We went from 7 to 25.
It's a reasonable number by the time you're.
But why was it in 1980 we had 1 in 5,000 kids autism to 1 in 50, and we went from 7 vaccinations to 25.
Why do we have 1 in 20 people depressed today, and we had 1 in 1,000 in 1950? I mean, it's like
depression. I'm talking about actual serious
it's all an overdiagnosis. A lot of this stuff.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with this overdiagnosis.
In China, it's unheard of. I mean, it's a lot of this is a cultural thing. Do vaccines cause adverse reactions? Yes, in certain numbers of people they do. But you really have to weigh out the benefits over time for eradication of polio, smallpox, chickenpox, eliminate these.
Well, I tell you what, I'll give you a challenge, Rosie. You go back and you research the polio vaccine. You do that. We'll stop talking about vaccines for right now. You go back and you research the polio vaccine and be surprised at what you'll find.
Well, what do you expect me to find? I found a wonderful thing.
The polio vaccine actually caused fucking polio.
I grew up with people clinking down the aisles in braces.
I know that, Rosie. I'm not denying that polio wasn't a problem. But if you go back and you do some serious research, and I'm not talking from the American Medical Association, because they're going to tell you what they want you to fucking know. You need to go dig hard and find out that the polio vaccine back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, whenever the fuck it was, actually caused polio more than the disease itself. That's a fact. And if you search it, and if you search it hard enough, you'll figure it out. Yeah, but you'll have to do that on your own, because I can't convince you of that.
Yeah, you can't, because I just know what a scourge it was up until the 1950s.
Well, like I said, you have to keep an open mind, and you have to look.
Well, I will.
You'll have to look beyond what the government is feeding you. You'll have to go beyond that.
That's just time. It's once again a question of time changes people's perspective on things. But if you grew up in the 30s, your biggest fear was being in public places and swimming pools, and it was a scourge. And when you think that's people today don't even appreciate that 2 generations later, it's unknown to them. It's they only see the downside and not the number of people that have.
But that's my point, Rosie. You haven't dug into it. I know you're in the medical field now, but you have been told what you're supposed to be told. You have been taught what you're supposed to be taught. You haven't actually looked at real facts beyond what the government tells you.
Well, I believe what the AMA tells me, of course.
Well, see, there you go. There's your problem.
Who are you going to believe then? You know, I mean,
Is that, well, there you go. The American Medical Association.
A guy that writes an article for Nature magazine that causes untold harm to people.
Well, I mean,
then
the bottom line is, okay, I'm going to end this. I mean, not the chat.
It's a totally refuted, disbanded from the research field, loses his credentials and everything, and has to admit a public retraction of his bad science.
Hey, Rosie,
Okay.
I got a question.
All I want to say, and I'm going to stop talking about this subject altogether. Do you trust your government 100%? Because if you do, you're trusting the AMA. If you trust the government 100%, go by what the AMA says. If not, do your own research, and I'll shut up. Bye.
Well, I'll just say this. The AMA is a private organization. It's not a government entity. The FDA is a government entity. You can choose to believe the FDA or not believe them, but the AMA tries to publish and sustain factual information. There's nobody going to stand up for the benefit of Merck Corporation except for Merck. There's no disassociated doctors and other groups that have any incentive to stand up for Merck and vaccinations and things like that. So I've seen what vaccinations did and the wonder that they did. And yes, it's sad that some people have adverse reactions, and I feel bad about that. It's a terrible thing. But I also know that the bad science that came out from Nature magazine 15 years ago was probably one of the worst things that ever came down, because it pointed fingers in the wrong direction, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. We'll just disagree on that. And I have studied things like vaccinations because I've been in the heart of adverse reactions. I've seen it. And I just worry that we have so many people, this little town called Sebastopol, that half of the young population isn't even vaccinated against basic things like polio. And I worry about if a child tragically comes down with polio, because something comes out of Africa or something, and that to me is going to be the ultimate tragedy, because it could have been prevented.
Okay, Rosie, I want to ask you something here. This is just, is this right or is this wrong morally? Like my daughter, when she started school, she had all of her vaccinations, but now she's getting ready to graduate, and there's some new vaccines going out. And the state says she will not get her high school diploma unless she gets this vaccine before before graduation date of her senior year. I mean, they're holding the high school.
That's dead wrong. That's dead wrong. That takes a parent's choice out of their hands. I disagree with that. You can sign waivers in California, which millions have, not to vaccinate. So if that's the case, I feel sorry for her with that. It's not right for any entity to force that on people.
Yeah, the government is forcing that down on the high schools, and they're holding the high school diplomas hostage here in Ohio.
Which, what is that, the HPV or the meningitis vaccine? That's usually the one they give older kids.
This is some new one, because I've just been hearing about it for the last couple of years. I can't tell you. I just remember getting the notice.
That's definite overreach in the government.
Mm-hmm.
And school system, they ought to be ashamed of themselves for doing that. It has nothing to do with the education of the child and everything to do with infringing their rights.
Yep.
That sucks. Yeah, it's probably the HPV, but no.
The HPV sounds familiar, but I can't say that definite or not. But I mean, that's the government and pushing the vaccine stuff. And I'm going to drop it now.
All right. We'll get off seriousness.
I'll grant you guys good stuff and bad stuff.
Yeah.
Here
we go. We'll talk about guns for a little bit. For anybody, just in case you didn't catch the Sunday night chat, I finally got my damn CZ back together. The one that Tool Monkey polished up the parts for me and made it look all pretty, and I got some custom grips for it, and let me make sure it's unloaded.
Here's the big question: Have you shot a single round out of it since you've put it together?
I didn't want the webcam to be shot at by accident.
There's only been 5 rounds shot out of it. I went over to Tool Monkey's place. I don't know if you've seen the video, but I helped him set up his 550 Dillon, and we loaded it. The first 5 rounds we shot through this. So it does shoot. The decocker still works. I did it all correct. It's still a pain in the ass fucking gun, and I recommend never tearing down a CZ completely, because my God, what a pain in the ass gun it is to put back together. But I did it. I finally got it back together, and it shoots good. There you go. There's a little break in the tension.
But that's the thing, or that's what's awesome about this chat. I put it out in the external. You know, we can have a heated, very well debated discussion, argument, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the night, it is what it is, and we're all friends at the end. And
oh, absolutely, and we're closer than you think. On I'm no Pollyanna when it comes to the medical and the pharma trade. They're hand in hand. Trust me.
Well, I mean, even Coda Boy, who was in here earlier, me and him and a few other people, I mean, we were like dead against each other on the subject. But, you know, and a few minutes later, we were like, we're buddies again. You know, we can agree to disagree. And I think that's important.
We all want a better country. That's the main thing. That's the commonality of us. I mean, we all recognize there's been bad mistakes made. There's been stupid decisions. And Daniel just told me the latest one, forcing somebody to get a vaccine so that they can graduate. It isn't, you know, mixing two different things, education and enforcement for something that's not even it's sickening to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we can agree to disagree, and we, even when it comes to civil rights, we may disagree, but at the end of the day, at the end of the chat, I hope we're all still friends, and we'll talk again soon, you know. And I don't expect you to think like me. I expect you to think for yourself. Now, I may not agree with you, and we may disagree on a subject, but probably more than likely we agree on 99% of everything else. And then we'll just hit that one thing that we don't agree on, and we'll argue over it or debate over it. But other than that, I consider you all friends on the out there in the comments and everybody else. But anyway, go ahead, Daniel. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, could you hold that gun up again? I want to take another look at it. I don't know, but that looks like a Clanic clone.
Clanic clone. No, this is, I know you probably won't see it, is CZ. It's actually a police model. This is a police trade-in from Europe.
What did he do to it for you?
I refinished it, and my buddy polished out the like, you know, slide stop and decocker and magazine release, trigger, barrel. It was black too.
That's a good looking gun.
Yeah, it was like $359. CZ75B, BD, decocker. It's a deal. But it's a shooter. I'm gonna beat the shit out of it.
There you go. Is that your everyday carry piece now?
It is. It's going to be.
Okay. Okay. Bye, Rick. Have a safe trip.
Later, Rick. Yeah, I've been carrying a Glock 17, but I think I'm going to start carrying that now. Now that I finally got it back together and I know it shoots.
Pimped out CZ. I like that, Mr. Holster. I love that. That's what TR does. King of the pimped out weapons here.
I like the trigger on it much better than a Glock. Even though I carry a Glock, they got a shitty trigger. And my Glock is a police trade-in too. I'm a cheap bastard.
There's nothing wrong with being thrifty.
Yeah. I'd like to make money on both of them. Hell, Pop's Quest offered me $500 for that CZ already.
That's just like the gun that I told you guys about on Sunday. I paid an X amount and I'm getting X amount, so I'm good with it.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's the first gun I've ever sold, ever. And I'm not real happy about it, but my boy wants a hunting rifle for deer season coming up. So, you know, get rid of something you don't ever use that's been sitting in the safe to get something that's going to be used, you know?
Yeah. Well, kind of, you know, if I sell a gun to buy a gun, I kind of consider that a trade, even if it isn't with the same person. And I don't have a problem with that. But just selling guns to get rid of guns, it's against my religion.
It's against the man code.
Yes, against the man code.
Yeah, you never get rid of guns unless they are trash.
Yeah. If I get rid of a gun, I'm getting rid of it to replace it with something else. And that's okay. I got no problem with that. I'm kind of like Pops. He talked about it on one of his videos. There is 401k, and actually my guns are my 401k as well. I mean, I don't have a retirement plan. I don't have stocks. I don't have a mutual fund. None of that. What I do is just every few months I buy a gun.
So we're going over to guns now. Are we done with politics?
Yeah, we were done with politics and
Okay.
Stuff like that. We can talk about guns. Last 30 minutes. We'll talk about fun stuff.
Oh, I just intend to make sure I got plenty of 9mm and 308 sitting in the house before November.
There you go.
One bullet at a time on the loader.
Well, that works too. That's the way I started.
How much did that 550 run?
It's about $439, I think. Something like that.
Now, do you just load each bullet in there by hand?
Yeah, you still got to load it by hand. I mean, you still got to put a bullet in it. Or you still got to put a case and a bullet, you know, and crank the handle. And on the 550, you have to index it yourself too. But, yeah, I mean, still, you put out 300 rounds an hour without trying hard.
Oh, heck, that's all I'd need.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, the 650 you get up into it's another $150 or whatever, and it indexes itself, but you still got to put the shell in it and the bullet in it. It's like all it takes is a little, and you're ready for the next round.
Well, you have some silver too, don't you, TR? You put some silver aside too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Thing to do is just accumulate it over time, and then you get the average cost. You don't get the best price, but you don't get the worst one. So
yeah, and I buy what they call junk silver, just old quarters and dimes. I prefer the quarters now that I've bought dimes. The dimes are really wore out. Quarters, they're pretty good shape.
I don't care how poor you get, TR. If you ever sell the Charlie coin, I'll be pissed.
No, that's a keepsake.
What is it? What coin?
Blue sent me a silver coin with a rooster on it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a family heirloom.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's like the Charlie coin.
It's called the cock coin.
You got to go back and watch that video. I don't know if it's just because I sent it to TR, but just his reaction with opening everything, and it was like the best investment I ever made. Just, you know, he's a friend, and, you know, I knew about Charlie from the start of his channel, and it was like as soon as the Year of the Rooster came out, I was like, man, I'm going to buy a couple of these. I'm going to send one to TR just because, and that video made it well worth it, dude. I mean, it was just your expressions, your gratitude for something so simple was awesome.
Well, it was honest. I'll tell you that, because I almost didn't open it, you know, and I was like, well, you know, maybe I shouldn't open. No, that was a different.
I enjoyed the video the day he uploaded his cock in video. That was memorable.
Yeah, if I do an unboxing, it's all honest. I mean, when I unbox it, I'm unboxing it, you know, and I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you got to go see that one. That's good stuff.
All right, I'm actually TR. There's been some people that said that they want to go back and watch it, so I'm going to be quiet for a couple seconds. I'm going to go back, find your video, and post a link so they can watch it after the chat.
Okay, go right ahead.
Right when I was going to ask Blue about when does Pennsylvania deer season come in.
You need to move to South Carolina. I think we have the longest hunting season of the United States.
Well, you have to. I mean, the German Shepherds are bigger.
Well, yeah, you might be right. We don't have really big, you know, 120, 150 pound deer is a big one here. Yeah. But we're overrun. That's why the hunting season is so long.
Oh, tempting. I can't wait to get all this medical stuff done so I can get traveling again.
Yeah, good luck to you.
No, thanks. Hey, it is what it is. It's my own stupid fault where I got in the shape that I was. Misspent youth. And grinning every time I think about it.
Where are you at, Daniel, if you don't mind me asking? Just state.
Ohio.
Ohio, okay.
Yeah, we're limited to 1 buck a year, but we can shoot 6 does. Because everybody's hitting them with cars.
Oh, I was like, damn it, you're allowed to shoot 6? We're lucky. We get a buck tag, which has to be over a 6-pointer, and then you get 1 doe tag, and in the area, because they have it segregated into different zones, the zone I'm in, you're only allowed to shoot 1 doe a year. That's it.
Well, that might be a good thing, because I've been running the cameras here for about a month, and I've only gotten pictures of 2 does and 8 bucks. I mean, they've just shot off the does here. Just terrible. They need to cut it off.
Yeah, I'm not bitching about the buck limits. I mean, in different zones, it can have 3 on one side, but most of them are like 3 and 3. You can't shoot like a 2 and 2. It's got to be at least a 3 on one side. But I'll tell you what, ever since they started that, the bucks have gotten huge. I mean, big. You know, most of them get hit by cars, but
And well, that's what normally happens to all your big ones. Either 1 of 2 things happen: they get poached, or they get hit by a minivan the night before deer season.
mm-hmm. I'm really excited about this hunting season coming up. My girl, who's 10, she's not interested in deer hunting, but my boy, who's 8, he is. We have a mentor program here in PA where he can go out with me, and I get him a mentor tag. And if he shoots one, I mean, it takes my tag away, but I don't care about that. If he's interested in it and wants to go out, I'm all for it. We can do that in doe season too.
So what are you looking at? A 243 or a Henry, or like a Henry 44 mag?
For him, definitely the 243. We just went out to the farm the other day with a youth model, and I was more scared than he was, just because I remembered the first time that I shot a rifle, it was a 300 Savage, and I remember that. And then I remember my brother shooting, I think it was a 30-30, and he got bit by the scope on his first round. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, man, this is either going to make him or break him. One of the two. He's either going to not want to do it again. And he just he shot it, and I don't know, 6 times within, about a half hour. And he's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So that's why I had to sell my, my pistol, the one that it's been sitting in the gun safe forever. I sold it, and I'm just turning around and buying him, him and any of the other kids that want to use it, the 243. So.
Yeah, my daughter, she just got her first deer last year with the 44 Magnum, and it really doesn't kick. I mean, holding it in a rifle, it's a pretty sweet load. So when he's older, that would be one I would say, yeah.
Anything left of the deer when he got 44 mag.
Yeah, I just want to say right quick, changing gears a little bit. Rosie, the audience loves you being here because, unless I missed it, I know it hit 74 viewers, you know, concurrent viewers or whatever it is. You bumped up the viewership by 10 or 20 at one time.
I think it's you. Nobody knew I was going to be here. All credit goes to you.
No, I think we had to give us a little bit. I might have got 50 of them here, and you got another 20 here. They seen Rosie's pretty face on here, and it's like, oh, look, Rosie's back. And they come back.
You guys are too much. It's been a great 2 years plus doing this.
I just wanted to add that to the.
Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. Yeah, Blue, are you going to grow your beard back for the hunting season?
Oh, yeah. Bald head with it, which never ever made sense to me. Even like whenever I was able to grow like a little goatee and then like a little bit of fuzz on the side. I've got brown hair, brown eyebrows, brown hair whenever I used to grow it. When my beard comes in, it's red. So the guys at work, they always call me Captain Redbeard. It's and I don't know why. It's brown, but red.
There's a Scotchman in the woodpile.
There might be. I'll have to question my parents about that one.
You never had red hair, right? So it's weird.
No, but even whenever I was a kid, like up until 4 or 5 years old, you look at any of my kid pictures, I had red hair. And then it was after that, it switched to brown. Except for facial hair.
Mine kind of grows out gray now. It's a little bit black, and then it's gray. The further it goes down, it's gray.
Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, I hate it. Mine's just skin color. It's gone, like the wind.
Yeah, the drape stuff. I wasn't going to say anything.
That's the reason
I came this close, but I held myself back.
That's the only reason I have a mohawk. I know I don't keep it groomed properly, but because I'm 49 years old and I can have a mohawk. And so when anybody asks me, why do I have a mohawk? And I say, because I'm 49 fucking years old and I can have one. Most people my age have a reverse mohawk.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I saw a couple pictures, DR, the other day. I don't know what hair place it was, but a dude had a mohawk, and then he grew out the sides, and it looked like a lizard sitting on his head. Like they shaved like legs and shit in it. You should do that.
Yeah, beat still in my heart, the lizard on it. And run that past Sonia.
No, this is enough. Her family already thinks I'm. What's that guy? What's the guy that did the Oklahoma City bombing?
Timothy
McVeigh. Yeah.
Yeah, they already think I'm Tim McVeigh.
I would grow my hair back in, but whenever I do, it's like total gray on the sides and on the back, and on the top, it's so thin anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah, screw it. If you're gonna do it, just do it. There's a guy at work. I keep telling him, just shave that shit off. Just don't pretend to be that you got hair. Just go ahead and shave it, and just run with it.
I'll tell you the funniest thing I ever saw, and this was a guy that I went to high school with. I was at a gun raffle, hadn't seen him in years. he walks up to me and he's got long hair, not long hair, but shaggy hair off the sides. And you could tell he shaved the top because it was thinning. And I was like, oh my God, man, don't just get rid of it.
Because, you know, normally, I mean, if you do shave your head, people will tend not to mess with you because it just shows them you don't care and you actually kind of look a little tougher. Or is it just my great masculine physique?
No. I mean, I've shaved my head. I used to shave my head. I used to just go just freaking bald pretty much, you know. I mean, every once in a while I'd let it grow out and I would just buzz my whole head with a little, you know, doing my hair myself. And a few years ago I did a mohawk and decided to stay with it. But yeah, I mean, I could shave my head tomorrow. I don't care. Actually, being a shaved head is actually a trend now, you know. But if you're half-ass bald and you're trying to look like you got some hair, that actually looks worse than just shaving your head. Just shave your head, be done with it. People
TR, if you shaved your head right now, you would have a white stripe going right down the middle of it, and you'd look like a skunk.
That's true.
But you wear the mohawk well. You just tell them, hey, it's your heritage.
Yeah. Even though it's Cherokee, it's still Indian, whatever.
Yeah, I got that little bit of Cherokee here, and I'm living in Delaware country.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of people in America that don't have some Indian in them in some way, what form or fashion. It might be a small percentage, but we're all mutts. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, we're all mutts. There is no such thing as a white American. We're so damn mixed up, Scottish, Irish, Indian, blah, blah, blah. That's another thing that, not to get political, but it's like white supremacy. What's like, show me a white person.
It's like Bill Murray said, we got thrown out of every decent country in the world and we ended up here.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what movie was that from?
Bill Murray said it.
Yep.
Oh, what was that? Japan, Good Morning Tokyo. What the? I'm not sure. The one with Scarlett Johansson.
Stripes. Or not Stripes. Yeah, Stripes.
Oh yeah, Stripes. Yeah,
Stripes.
Sergeant Hulka.
Yeah.
Not too much.
I had a GMC that was just like that. I had one of GMC motorhomes that they used in that as the urban assault vehicle. I don't know if you remember that vehicle.
Oh yeah. Well, if you had damn 30 cal fucking machine guns sticking out of it, why did you get rid of it?
It was too much for me to handle. I just needed something small.
Yeah, not to and TR, I know you're the only person on this panel and probably in the side chat that saw my post. I think it was it yesterday? I had a snake in my garage. The thing was only about 2 feet long, and I'm used to garter snakes. I'm used to black snakes. I'm used to that type of stuff. I opened my garage to come in here, and right inside the garage door, there is a snake that has a white and brown pattern. Never seen one in my life. And I've got a very bad phobia of snakes. The only good snake's a dead snake. And I was like, shit, what is that? Is that a copperhead? Because in PA, copperheads are pretty, they're around here. And I'll tell you, I freaking ended up getting the Quikrete out. I ended up burying that son of a bitch in the hole that it was in and everything else. But then somebody informs me that, hey, look, I think that was a milk snake, which is non-venomous, non-violent, non anything else. But they're like, you realize that they run in pairs, and the snake that you got was a male snake, and the female was probably at least 2 times that long, 2 times that big, and it's probably in your garage somewhere. So the entire night, if you've seen me going back and forth the entire time, every time I hear, I don't care if it's a leaf crackle that's on my garage floor, I'm turning, okay, goddamn, I'm just waiting for the vengeance of mama to come up here and, you know, bite me or some shit. But I don't know. I've got to, I know where my fear of snakes came from, and I can thank my dad for that. But snakes and bees, you can put me in a shootout. I might pee myself a little bit, but you put a snake or a bee in front of me, I literally scream like a woman and run away.
Note to self, if I'm ever at one of these functions and Blue's there.
No, some asshole did that at work. Some asshole, they know my schedule. I get into work at, like, whenever I'm working the daylight shift, I get there at 7. By 7:05, I'm on the crapper. That's just the way it is. That's my schedule. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to get paid to poop. Some asshole, which will be unnamed, decided to put a fake rubber snake underneath the trash can that you don't see when you open the door. You shut the door, you get ready to go, and then you're sitting there and you pull out your phone and then you do like the glimpse around to see what's going on. There's a snake tail underneath the goddamn trash. Oh my God. I ran out of that bathroom, pants around my ankles.
What an interesting life you lead.
Oh, Blue, before I went in the Navy, the place where I worked at.
Next time video, if it's not on video, it didn't happen, remember. So
it happened. It happened. And I was fucked up.
Yeah, we got black widows like crazy in the garage and stuff. So.
Yeah, Blue, before I went in the Navy, when I was working, they would pay me $1 a snake, and I'd go out and kill snakes on my lunch hour. And this one gal stuck one of the dead ones in a box and put it by my press. I opened it up, seen it in there. It's like, okay, I closed it. I went on break, and I opened up her lid on her gas tank, and I wrapped that sucker around there, and I closed it. I forgot about it. 2 days later, she's coming in the shop with a baseball bat, chasing me down. All I could do was laugh and run.
Oh no! And okay, let me rephrase that, because I see some hate already coming. You know, bumblebees, honeybees, that type of stuff. No, I let them alone. I don't touch them. And if one was to ever colonize somewhere, I would call a professional in to get them out, because we're running out of that natural resource. But wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, you're gonna die. That's all there is. You know, that type of shit. No. And actually, TR, the next time I get a yellow jacket nest, I'm probably going to call you.
Don't they tend to be in the ground, yellow jackets? Don't they?
Yeah, they're in the ground.
Yeah.
But wasp, for those that, for the few of you that may have seen me climb the little 65-foot tower or whatever, that video.
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, I did that the other day, and I encountered 2 wasp nests on the way up. So the first one was at 30 feet. But this bigger, well, I shouldn't exaggerate, this big around, and they all hiked up like a damn cat. They knew I was there, and I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? I mean, I can't run. I got nowhere. I just slowly went by it. And I was like, okay, I got by that one. And when I got to the 40, 50-foot mark, I hit another one. I was like, son of a bitch. And then when I flipped over the lid to change the filter that I'm supposed to change or clean, son of a bitch, there wasn't another one. I encountered 4 fucking wasp nests up there. And even on the top, I was like, I got nowhere to go. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I just have to act calm, and hopefully they calm down and not attack me. I didn't get stung, but it was just like the the bad part was I knew I had to encounter those two wasp nests on the ladder on the way back down.
Yeah, suppose they attacked you. You would have been in a.
I would just got stung the shit out of because I couldn't run. All I could do was jump, and then that wasn't going to work.
No, I'm just saying that some people might panic and just start swatting and accidentally let go of the fucking ladder and, you know, die.
Yeah, well, I think I've established I'm pretty calm under a bad situation and can deal with it, but I just slowly went by. And they didn't, I mean, it was weird seeing them all like, I mean, literally like hiked up. They were all on the nest, like hiked up, like they were ready to attack. And I slowly went by them.
A lot of guts.
Well, I didn't have no choice at that point.
Now, since we're kind of on the topic, I do have a very, very serious question. I've got a yellow jacket nest right outside my garage door. On the one side of my driveway, I have a quote unquote retaining wall that's made out of 3 railroad trusses. So I stacked those railroad trusses up and then filled in dirt. I've got a fucking nest inside those railroad trusses, which they're going into a gap like that big. How the hell do I get rid of them? I've spent, I don't know, just looking back at the cans that I can see, at least 10 cans of the Hornet Wasp spray that you spray in, and I've sprayed it in and I walk away. Then I spray it in and I walk away. That can's empty. Spray it in, walk away.
Gasoline.
It just won't. That okay? How do I do that? Because I'm not gonna burn it because it's.
You gotta get a funnel and.
You don't have to burn it. The gasoline itself will kill them. Go buy a bug sprayer if you have to. You know, the pump up bug sprayer. Put gasoline in it, and fucking hose that sumbitch down. The fumes itself will kill them.
All right, I've heard that once before, so that's going to be my next plan of action.
You don't have to light it, and after a few weeks, you don't have to worry about it. You know, catch it blowing up or anything like that because it'll dissipate. But yeah, just douse it with gasoline, and I mean douse the hell out of it. And the gasoline fumes herself will kill them.
Okay, that's what I've heard, but that's what surprised me because with this wasp and hornet spray, I mean, I'm literally like spraying it. I mean, I'm closer than I want to be, and I put it down the line, back and forth, get it up in that crevice as much as I can, and there's like 50 dead hornets whenever I go back out, or yellow jackets. And then I spray it again, and they keep going in and keep going out, and I kind of figured that if I kept doing it, eventually they get deep enough into the nest that, kind of like a plague, it would transfer. It would transfer the poison in. That's not working.
Prepper said C4 down there.
Now, see, the gasoline, the fumes will get them, and you could actually, I mean, even if they tried to come at you, the gasoline would get them as they were trying to come after you. So, maybe spray it a little bit around there as you come up to it, and get your little pump up, sprayer,
right,
and just douse the hell out of it. Yeah. And the fumes herself, the gasoline fumes herself, you don't have to fire it off. The gasoline fumes will do it, period.
Yeah, I ran into the worst case scenario a couple years ago. Well, Christ, it's been at least a decade, but it seemed like every year at some point in time, the sons of like the ground hornets or the ground yellow jackets, and you don't know they're there until you run over them with a goddamn lawnmower.
That's what makes them the worst. Yeah, lawns. Yeah.
And I had one of those old ass tractors that it didn't have the cutoff switch, so whenever you jumped off the seat, it kept going. The one day I got freaking, absolutely annihilated. I jumped off the goddamn tractor and started running, and it fucking went down over a hill, rolled over the embankment, and I was like, I don't care.
Was it on video?
No, so it doesn't count.
Didn't happen.
And that's the same thing. My favorite freaking Yellow Jacket story is I'm driving through our downtown headed toward work. So I'm not I don't wear my uniform to work, but I wear like the pants, the boots, and everything else, but nothing else is on. And I'm going down Main Street and I'm sitting at a red light and this Yellow Jacket flies into my car. I roll down the passenger window hoping it's going to go out, but it kept hovering right above my face. Fuck it. I put it in park and I bailed out of my car. I right in the middle of town. I was like, screw it. I'm just going to wait. That's
I had to have the exterminator out here last week because the Yellow Jackets got up in my roof. They were, I mean, they're starting to stain the ceiling they were in there so bad. And I got the exterminator going up and cutting a hole, going up in there, and all the bees flying around this thing, and I got it on video. But hopefully you took care of it.
Yeah, I don't like Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets are mean little bastards. They are.
And unfortunately,
honeybees are cool. They won't mess with you unless you step on them or something like that. But Yellow Jackets, they're assholes. Period.
Mm-hmm. Except for Yellow Jackets, bees' lives matter.
Hornets, those white-faced hornets. No, fuck them too. They will come out and attack you out of nowhere just to sting you in the face.
Yeah, the ones that build the little paper-looking domes. Oh yeah, they're mean too. Yeah, you don't mess with those.
There's people that buy those nests on eBay and stuff. They'll pay $200 to $400 for them.
Really?
Yeah, they like putting them in their kitchens and stuff.
My in-laws, I can't say my in-laws. So it would be my wife's grandfather found a huge paper Yellow Jacket hornet nest, whatever you want to call it. And it was fall into winter. Cut it down because it was, he thought it was a dead nest, whatever. Took it into the house. Once it got warm.
Oh my God.
What an idiot.
It was bad.
But speaking of that, my very, very, very first video, my very first video on YouTube was me blowing a hornet's nest up with a 12-gauge shotgun. It was on my Fun Fisher channel. That was my very first. It was a crappy camera, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, I'm trying to be funny. I'm tossing a beer can over here, a cigarette. And I literally, I mean, it was a live freaking nest. And I shoot, and it was beside my front porch. And I shoot it and run in the house.
I saw that video.
That was my introduction to YouTube.
That's like these professionals that go out. They're donning they got the gloves, they got the mask, and they're taking out Yellow Jacket stuff. They're digging into the ground to extract this nest. But I don't give a shit if you're wearing a suit or not. Goddamn, just the sound of those assholes stinging the camera and stuff like that. No, it's an all-out attack.
I'm still waiting for the day when I'm at somebody's house and there's a skunk outside and they decide to shoot it through their kitchen window and I got my camera. I seen that as a kid when my dad did it, and I'm just waiting for somebody else to do it now that we have the technology.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work out.
You shoot a skunk, it's gonna spray. That's just all there is to it.
Yep. All right. It's been about 2 hours. We'll go ahead and wrap this up if y'all don't mind, unless anybody's got something else they want to bring up. Since we're talking about shooting skunks, I figure we've pretty much exhausted our subjects for tonight. Blue, would you like to do an outro?
I will, and I'm going to follow up with my Sunday night outro. It's not for my channel. It is for the Crazy Scotsman. Make sure he was in the side chat. Go check him out. He's got this awesome raffle for C-Max, who's battling cancer. who, of course, you know, to the government, and there's no assistance for paying bills and everything else. However, with this raffle that he's doing, there's at least 8 more giveaways going on. Some of these packages are over $1,000 that he's giving away. TR, I know you've donated a press, that type of stuff. Maybe you can kind of get that a little bit better, but go over, check out the Crazy Scotsman, find out his original video for the giveaway. Go to the link, donate a minimum of $10. Gets, I think $10 is 1 entry, $50 is 6 or 8 entries, something like that. You donate it, you screenshot it, you send it to the Crazy Scotsman, you're in. These prize packs are awesome. And there's even a damn near, well, at now, because of the donations, is a completed AR will be given away over the next 8 weeks. So go over, check out the Crazy Scotsman, help out C-Max, and hopefully maybe you can win something. So go check that out.
Yeah, awesome giveaway. Daniel, would you like to do an outro?
Just to reiterate, if you're not into that raffle, you're an idiot. I mean, they've already had 1 or 2, and they're going to have like 8 more, and you're going to be in for every single one. But Daniel got as my judge, and thank you, TR and Blue and Rosie. Enjoyed talking to you tonight.
Well, thanks for joining, man. I do appreciate it. I appreciate your input, and enjoy having you on the panel. Rosie, would you like to do an outro?
I'd love to, and thanks, TR and Daniel. Nice to be on the panel with you. You're awesome. I hope everything goes well for you. Fingers crossed. Thoughts and my prayers for you. And Blue, great to see you. And TR, sometimes I probably seem cold-hearted on here about some things in life, and I've seen a lot in my years. I'm certainly older than probably anybody on the panel. I've seen a lot of changes that aren't for the better, and sometimes it's, you know, it makes me maybe over yearn for the old days and maybe a little cold-hearted about our present situation. So I want to apologize if I offended anybody tonight. Anybody that's dealing with autism or problems like that, it's a profound situation. You have my deepest thoughts and wishes for the future. I have a lot of heart for people that deal with those type of situations. So I want to just put that apology out there. We have differences of opinions about things, and you know, it's a healthy thing to have that dialogue. And I just want to apologize if I come off as a little harsh and obstinate sometimes in my beliefs, but I'm a caring person, and I care very much what all of you deal with on a daily basis that have family members and live with those maladies as well as other ones.
Well, Rosie, your opinion is appreciated, and we take it very seriously. We may have different opinions on something, but to be, I'm not a fucking doctor. I don't have any medical expertise. All I base my stuff on is research. So, I mean, we have different opinions on something, so be it. But we're still friends. You know, my opinion is no better than anybody else's, and we appreciate your opinion, and I want your opinion. Okay, so don't ever be apologetic for giving your opinion. Okay. And with that, we'll sign off here. And yes, go check out the Crazy Scotsman. After this chat's over, I'll put a link in the description so you can check out to get in on the giveaway. And it is a great giveaway, and he's giving away thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I mean, almost every giveaway is hitting almost $1,000. And my little part in it, my buddy Tool Monkey, and I have it here. he bought a Surefire weapons lot. I mean, this thing is like, I don't know, 150 bucks, 200 bucks, something like that. That's part of it. There's a lot of people who's donated a lot of stuff to it, and check it out. So with that, later, everybody, and thank you, Rosie, for coming back and gracing your presence with us. And thank you, Daniel and Blue, for coming on. And we'll see everybody later.